Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our national Q&A call. We're going to get started right now with news you can use, and today is the 8th of November, 2022, Election Day. Get out there and vote if you haven't already done so. Now, to get you guys up to speed as to where we are in actuality, here, November 8th, just in the last 2 months, the market has lost $1.3 trillion in equity. So, in other words, if you look at the value of all the houses in America, this is actually 3 months now. It was in August. And you look at it today, 1.3 trillion has been lost. So the values have come down. But where are the values dropping the fastest? Well, once again, it goes back to basically two things. It goes back to the fact that investors have a lot of activity in certain areas. Those are the areas that are dropping fast. And then there's certain areas that have a lot of building going on. There's certain areas that have no building going on. So right here in Central California, there's just half a mile up the road, there's 300 homes being built. These things, I keep seeing their sign, dropping the price, drop the price before they're even built. And they were selling these things a year ago for 700. Now they're selling them for 4 to 5. And they're going to be lucky to get out by the skin of their teeth. In other words, they're going to be lucky to get enough money to pay back the cash they got in it. They're not going to make any money on this deal. So, but they have to sell because they have bank loans, right? This is not their IRA savings that they can put into a house they're going to live in forever. This is something that they've got to get rid of. And that will cause the prices to drop because people would rather pay $500 for a brand new home than $500 for an older home that's in bad shape, that type of thing. So those are the factors that if you want to try and search out a bad market, you look for those two things. Where was there a lot of investor activity? The top 5, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Seattle, Sacramento, California, and Boise, Idaho. Those are the top 5 that had the most per capita investor activities. Those are the ones that are dropping the most right now. Then you look at the areas that have a lot of building going on and you factor those in. And if you had one area in particular that has a lot of both, Austin, Texas, for example, has a lot of builder activity and a lot of investor activity. That's the markets that are going to decline the fastest. In fact, Austin's down something like 15 or 17% right now. It'll probably end up 35, 40% off of its peak when it's all said and done. Those other cities will easily be down 25% during this whole period of time. One other thing to keep in mind is I believe this investor fuel crisis that I think that it's going to be called down the road is going to be short. 2008 deal started in 7, went all the way to 12. It hit the bottom flat to 14 and started coming back up. I don't think it's going to take that long to drop prices. I think things are moving at hyper speed out there. The way the Fed is jacking around with the interest rate has caused, and we'll talk about that on Thursdays because I'm already using more than enough of my time here, but we'll talk about that on Thursday on how the Fed really is causing this problem, in my opinion. And it was a problem that they attempted to solve with a sledgehammer that needed more like a fly swatter to get taken care of. And so they have the ability to fix it, and I think they will. We're already seeing cracks in the dike, as it were, between the various Fed governors and various Federal Reserve districts. I don't think they're in agreement on exactly where they need to go. But we'll talk about that in more in-depth Thursday. But I think for now, if you want to stay out of the bad markets, most of the other markets, you're pretty safe if you plan an exit strategy that includes a drop in value. So, for example, in a lot of the cities that we're primarily rehab now, you guys have heard me talk about this. I've been against rehab because in my entire career, I've done hundreds of rehabs, but only a few of them have been extremely profitable. There was a period in 06, 9 months when everything was extremely profitable. And we're in that period again now. It's a perfect storm for a rehabber. If you have the ability to do that, it's perfect. But you have to look at a house and say, okay, the comps are 150, but I have to plan for 15 or 10% less. So by the time I get done, if I can sell a house for 135 and still make my numbers work, you're golden. And that's what we're doing. And we're doing it successfully. In 5 markets right now. And so it is definitely doable. There's a lot of money to be made. In the meantime, you've got these desperate investors. You've got the housing market, the new build housing market product coming on the market. And you've got the regular people out there, and we haven't even talked about the fact that a lot of these forbearance things that we had 2 years ago have come to full fruition to foreclosure status. And there's a lot of that flooding in the market now. Now, that thing in entirety is maybe only 1 million homes, maybe 1,000,003 or 4. That's still a lot of extraordinary homes. Last year, there was like 200,000 foreclosures. So to go up by 1 million in a market that can sustain 400, 500, 600,000 homes is a lot. So that will add to the carnage, but that stuff will all get absorbed here at some point. There are people out there, there are hedge funds running for the hills, discounting properties that they own and selling them off. But there's other hedge funds standing in and picking these things up as they drop in price and getting them at a good enough deal that when the market hits the bottom, they'll still be okay, because they can, a lot of times they can obtain the cheap financing that's on the home vis-a-vis things like subject to seller finance, so on and so forth. Anyway, I know this was kind of a lot to digest here today. Once again, I believe the investors are going to take the brunt of the blame for this thing. But I believe there is a huge, huge, huge opportunity out there right now for this. One of the other things I would look to avoid is a market that has both a high increase in the number of homes for rent and a high increase in the number of homes for sale. And you can generally go to Moody's or Zillow and get that information. You can look back for the last 5 months. So there's a lot of places in the country that have doubled the number of homes for rent and doubled or tripled the number of homes for sale. Stay away from those markets. Generally, those are the same markets. And I just went through those top 5 that I think are going to get hit the worst, and then go from there. Now there are plenty of places in California, some surprising areas in California and other areas of the country that will probably take almost no hit, maybe 1 to 3% loss. In some cases, they will actually increase. And these are cities that I believe are actually going to go up over the next 5 years instead of go down. All right, that's it for news you can use for today. Stay forward. Look forward to next Thursdays, and we'll talk about how the Fed has got their little hand in the cookie jar on this deal and how they're double dipping on both sides of the equation to help the economy, help the government, and help themselves while tearing up the employment rate and the housing market. All right, that's it for news you can use.